I gotta say, my favorite ones are the ones where he talks to like, well, this guy smuggled drugs for the cartel for 35 years and then got out, and this is his story. I'm like, yeah, I like this shit.
There's Bernie Sanders was on his show. I'm not like crazy about Bernie. He's too conservative for me.
You're a Bernie bro?
No, he's too conservative for me.
What he is a hypocritical douchebag.
He's
hypocritical
is what he is. Yeah, he's like pro big pharma and shit. He's just a liberal.
His whole campaign was, "I'm for the little people," from his fucking
when he
$2.5 million mansion.
When he was younger, he was more, like social democrat. But it was interesting watching him with Joe Rogan. That's for sure. Because
Daddy said, "Shut up."
That's one thing I appreciate about people like Joe Rogan and like Glenn Greenwald, who's like independent journalists. Like they don't give a shit if you're who the fuck you are.
Like if you want to come on and be heard, it's like, I'm down to have a conversation with
Tucker Carlson. Even though I disagree with Tucker Carlson, he has like the best journalists on his show, like Aaron Mate, world-class journalist. He's a leftist, like an anarchist like me. So, yeah, I mean, there are plenty of people that agree. It's just like, most people agree. That's what people don't seem to understand. But if you look at the media, it seems like, most people disagree.
Most of us can find common ground,
right.
Or even if we disagree, we can still agree on, I guess, our angles on it, or even if we disagree, I can agree and understand where you're coming from your point of view, instead of just being super, I guess, Catholic is a good way to put it. Like, you're wrong, I'm right, shut up.
Right, right.
I don't care what they call it now. I call it Catholic mentality.
What are you talking about?
Are we started?
We started. Like,
oh, sweet.
He's like, we've been recording since you knocked on the door, bro.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
He has a webcam in the hallway that recorded you walking in your big coat.
All right, I'm like, hey, I'm late. Sorry.
Well, that's what you get for having fucking, what is it, GCI?
Yeah.
Dude, I was so confused. I'm like,
yeah.
What are you at the studio, dude?
My exact words.
Brian
like,
has the shits.
Did he not read any of the messages?
You saw it yourself. I mean, none of it was there. I actually turned my phone off. I should turn it back on. Very strange, yeah. I was like, wow, these guys never like confirm anything. Like I saw the thing about the podcast and I was like, oh, I didn't know that we confirmed that. I was like, we're recording drums today.
I think, I was so confused. So are we not doing drums?
What
we
the
got
fuck, bro?
A sick drummer.
Brian, we're going to put a toilet in the room and you're just going to go for it.
Brian's probably like, what the fuck?
We'll put you on a bucket.
I think with Decepticide is like, unless somebody says I can't do it, is basically confirmed that we are practicing on Sunday. And yeah, our communication sucks. I
generally understand that though.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, sometimes
today, obviously someone
will say, like, even if Enzo will say like 3 days beforehand, okay, practice at this time, and no one will say anything, and then we'll just all kind of show up.
Yeah. I figured that about like the second or third time. But today it was GCI's fault.
Nice, dude.
I know,
for sure. Why don't you put your face on the microphone and just cough?
I'm sorry. Clearing the throat.
I'm sure people love hearing that. Stop being sick. Do you know that it was his birthday today?
Yes. I wished him happy birthday this morning.
Thank you.
Oh, man.
Appreciate that.
So what do you do for your birthday?
Got drunk with his dad.
My dad called me like last week. He was like, oh, we're going to Beartooth. And I woke up. I was expecting to just go meet, my family. And the drummer from my former band, Terraform, Zach randomly texted me saying happy birthday, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, just going to hang out with my dad at Beartooth. You want to come by? So he came by. He joined us for breakfast. We had some breakfast. My dad came by, and then we sat around and argued about politics, and that was it.
It was fun.
It was a great time.
It was a great time.
It was a great time.
Beautiful. My in-laws were there. My wife.
You enjoy arguing about politics?
Yeah. I mean, we argue about politics from a leftist perspective. Like my dad's, pro-democracy. Very like he's a progressive, and I'm an anarchist. So we're arguing from like a leftist perspective. But yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I love it.
Fuck democracy, dude.
Right.
I think they should raise the voting age to like
37.
Damn, dude, I was gonna go 28, but Yeah, why not, dude? Kids are fucking stupid.
You can't vote till you're 45.
Right. I mean, it's ineffective.
Anytime my mom complains about anything, the price of gas or anything, I'm like, you wanted this. And she's always confused, like, what do you mean? Why would I want this? I'm like, you voted for him.
Who, Biden?
You got it. I gotta fucking go kill my dog. Hold on.
Hold on, I'm gonna go.
I hate to say it, but I mean, he has minimal control over it, other than the fact that he could put a cap on corporations. But
for the most part, he's just a face in the camera,
and it's really like
that's also one of the reasons why a lot of politicians hated Trump so much, is because there was a lot of times they're like, "Well, this is what we're gonna do," and he's like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that." He's like, "I'm going to do this, and you guys are just going to deal with it after I tell everybody that this is what we're doing now."
Pretty much. I mean, it's supposedly free market, right? So the corporations set the prices, and that's how it goes. If we're adhering to the idea of free market. Yeah. And there's plenty of protectionism and so on, which is why we have tariffs on, countries that could actually lower our this is such a boring podcast, which could actually lower our gas prices. We haven't
actually started yet,
like Venezuela. We haven't?
Well, I mean, he's recording, but it doesn't mean that this is the actual
right, yeah. I'm sitting here talking about Venezuela. But no, seriously, if we didn't put tariffs on Venezuela, we could have such a positive partnership with them. They have such a rich surplus of fuel, but for some reason they're unwilling to, it's just ridiculous. Nobody ever thinks about the human being that drives their car to work and has to pay $60, $70 a week. It's about the corporations. And that's bullshit.
What are you talking about?
Venezuela. We put tariffs on Venezuela, but realistically, if we had some sort of understanding towards Venezuela, it may not be great for the corporations, but for the everyday person driving their car, gas prices would be significantly lower because they have reservoirs of fuel. And they're also, if I'm not mistaken, they're not a part of OPEC, which we could bypass OPEC, which actually raises the prices, like Saudi Arabia, Mexico, etc.
Who sets the prices? Who says today the gas is $3.75 and then tomorrow it could be $1 extra?
Supposedly, it's a huge, big math system based upon quantity. Oh, I know it's not actually, but that's what they tell everybody. It's based off of all of these mathematical equations that have to do for backup reservoir plus the amount they created in the past 2 years.
Remember when Biden says that the gas station owner, well, he should just lower the price. It's like, he can't do that. No.
Why don't the corporations lower the prices?
Why don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Murat, you should write him a letter.
Write him.
I've been vocally.
Just like you did a press kit. Just like that.
Oh, yeah, totally. That was great. That was fun to write.
I want to see that.
What, the press kit? Mm-hmm. You haven't seen it?
What do you mean? I sent it to you.
No, you didn't.
I did.
I did not get a press kit.
It's the whole description of us. Oh, dude, she survived.
You didn't give her enough Benadryl.
No, I don't know. I don't think there's anything I can do about that, dude. Because if I lock her up in my room,
it's gonna get worse.
Well, she'll be fine, but Brandy, she'll find something to chew on. So yeah, I'm not sure. Well,
are you worried if you let him roam in here that they'll hear something outside and freak out, or?
I wouldn't mind them staying here, but I will have to keep the door open. Let's try that.
But largely speaking, like what we were talking about earlier, is populism seems to be overall the politics of everyday people. Populism, everybody suffers. Everybody that we know pretty much are in the same boat generally.
Yeah, we're all on the same sinking ship.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not me, dog.
Well, it's like that. It's like that. I bring it up at work too. Sometimes it's that. I saw a cartoon where it showed I'd say kind of like a fishing boat, not a huge one, but a fishing boat, and it's tipped down, one end because it's got a hole in it and it's sinking, and two guys are in suits and they're sitting up at the bow, up in the air, sipping drinks, while you see 2 or 4 other guys bailing water out of the other side, and both of the guys are like, well, at least that's not our side of the boat.
Oh, wow, yeah. You don't want to be that person.
Well, you guys want to talk music, maybe?
Let's do it.
Let's make it organic.
Well, got dark real quick, man.
Yeah, right.
As soon as Venezuela,
everybody suffers.
Venezuela, what's next? Hey, let's talk about Palestine.
Venezuela has entered the chat.
That's an easy one right now. Now, what about you, man? Fucking, you joined this band, which is really weird. After we known each other since you were, well, I'm 38 now.
I just turned 32 today. Yeah.
I think we met you when we came back from Pennsylvania. I don't think we met him before that, right?
I was 20 years old when we met.
Do you remember the specific time you met us?
I met you guys at the A Street Event Hall. We had booked a gig together. I don't remember. I don't remember what the gig was exactly.
Darren Hike. He organized that, and we were supposed to get. Nice guy. Yeah, he's really nice. But I had a problem at that show because he was supposed to pay us. My God, I can't believe today it would be a joke. But back then I was like, oh, we're getting paid $300 for tonight, and today would be like. Dude.
I didn't even know bands got paid back then. I never got paid for a gig.
You guys are getting paid.
Yeah, he was like $300, and then after the show he gave us like $150 or maybe $200, and I was like, "Where's the rest?" And he was like, "Well, there wasn't that great of a turnout." And I was like, "How is that on me, dude? Like, if you tell me you're gonna pay me this amount." But
it's like business when you go to work. It's like you make $20 an hour, and then they're like, "Well, it wasn't really a productive week, so we docked you down to $15 an hour for this week."
Did you learn at that point that you have to get it in writing? I guess via text.
Well, I just you know what? No, I didn't learn. And actually, recently I just went through a whole payout situation with my older band, and it was one of those that venue asks you want to play this for this much, and you're like, sure, and then that's the end of it, and you go play the concert, and at the end of the night, nobody's especially us, we're there to play music, have a good time, and we'll deal with the money later. And I don't want to be the guy that gets off stage and be like,
"Where's my money?
Pay me." But man, it's getting to that point to where, it's like.
Because then you're calling people and be like, "Hey, weren't you gonna pass? Yeah, I'll get it to you." And
yeah, I do. I mean, without mentioning anybody, dude. We just waited for almost 3 weeks to get paid after a show. 3 fucking weeks.
The last show.
Yeah, that's just straight up disrespectful, man. Who fucking does that?
Would you ever pay an employee 3 weeks after an employee?
What happens then? People go on strike and businesses shut down.
Exactly. I think I wouldn't have had such an issue if I would have known that, hey, we gotta wait for ticket sales to come in. Everything that got, all the tickets that were sold, we gotta wait for the money to hit our account. Then we'll look. If you give me that, I can give you all the time, but you gotta keep me in the loop.
Totally.
But if you don't, it's you kind of let's give it a couple of days, and then after the first week, I think that's when you go I should probably say something, and then you do, and when you don't get a fucking response right away, and you're like. Okay, man.
They left me on read. Now it feels like you're avoiding me.
This is a really uncomfortable situation because I'm taking this as disrespect, and now I'm definitely not gonna let you off the hook. Now I'm gonna go after it, and it sucks because it's weird. They owe me money, and yet I feel like I'm
being the asshole.
You're asking them. How the fuck does that work?
And overall, who fucking likes going after money? Asking fucking people for money. If you let borrow money from somebody, it's really uncomfortable having to ask them, dude, you owe me money. You should be worried about paying me back.
Yeah. Turn into a pimp named Slickback. Where's my money, motherfucker?
Exactly.
A pimp named Slickback?
Whenever I owe money,
Mr. Slickback?
Guilty. It's a weird feeling to owe people money.
I'm on the other side of it. I'll loan people money and then completely forget I loaned them money. And then a month later, they'll be like, "Oh, here," and they'll hand me money. I'm like, "What the hell is this for?" Remember you loaned me blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I did loan you money." But that's because I live by a philosophy where I never loan out money that I couldn't do without. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Not that I don't trust the person I'm loaning to. I just, I'll never hand out money that I couldn't live without having.
Totally. Yeah, $500 max.
Yeah, you're terrible at that shit, dude. I get mad for you. I'm like, what the fuck, Ryan? Go tell them. I'll tell them. Give me their number.
I'll tell them. Said that to me before, too. adopting broken street people,
Dude,
and he's like, "You need to kick these people out, Ryan. Do you want me to kick them out? Because I'll go and kick them out for you."
Really?
Well, worst thing is like he was living on a trailer, and then he was like helping people.
Some random guy?
No, I mean, like he knew them.
Not random, but
I see.
They were like in a tough spot and like lost their place or whatever. They needed a place to crash, and then that couple nights of crashing in his couch turned into a fucking month and 2. And he was like, "Yeah, they've been living there and like not getting any fucking rent." I'm like, "Kick him out, dude!" Like,
set parameters.
Well, I just feel bad. I'm like, "Bro, let me go into your house."
Especially if you're doing that kind of stuff.
Or like when Dapsby Fallen came that one time to play the show in Anchorage, and they had nowhere to stay, and then I just let their whole band and all their people just crash at my house.
That's
and then,
awesome.
Then it wasn't just like for that Friday night. Then it turned in they stayed the whole weekend at my house and just kind of thrashed the house.
Wasn't that the former guitarist Zach? It was his band, right?
Yes. Yeah, that was his.
Was that
band.
when he was in the band?
Zach. Yeah, that's when he was in Dapsby Poland. God, he was so young, man.
Zach was great. He was such a nice guy.
Yeah, man, he was. It's funny how like we actually never really talk about it when it happened. When our friend Bobby, who was also in Decepticide, he passed. You know, we had a podcast whole dedicated to him, and we talked at length about what happened and how that felt. But with Zach, it was kind of like, because since COVID up until when Zach died, like it was like a series of like people just passing, you know, for accidents or suicide or whatever. And it's so weird that before COVID, like I just don't remember a time in our lives that we had so many people close to us. Like, oh, did you hear so and so just fucking died? And I was like, it was bizarre. And from 2020 to 2022, it was like fucking one person after. If it wasn't close, it was definitely somebody that we fucking knew.
You guys went through it.
So there was a lot of that, and with Bobby and then Zach, it was basically a year apart from each other by like a month and a half, I think. Because I think Bobby was like in July or something like that, and Zach was around August. Might be a little off on the dates, but it was pretty close. And a year later, you just couldn't believe another friend and another member of the Decepticide has just passed. And Zach's story is
circumstances so fucked.
Well, Bobby's story is pretty sad too, you know. But Bobby, we kind of lost touch with Zach. We got to play a show with his band, and that was in 2019, I think it was.
Yeah, I think
that was the last time we saw Zach. No. There was 2 last times we saw Zach. When they came up here, and then we went and played in Fairbanks. Almost all the way around.
It was the other way around because
okay,
remember, they came and played my birthday. Okay,
so we went to Fairbanks in March of 2019. And I remember that because we just got back from I just got back from Colombia, and like a week later we were playing this show. And at this point, when we see Zach at the bar, you know, he shows up with his band, and you know, he looks a little raggedy, a little like
he looked like shit.
He had a fucking beard, which was weird. He was never like that.
He was always clean shaven.
He was always clean shaven, and he was always like a fucking solid dude. Like, he was strong.
He was thin when we saw him,
but he was like
lively.
Strong. He was a strong kid, you know, and he just looked scrawny and just you know, just. But you know, I was like, well, he lives in Fairbanks, so there's that. Well, what the fuck is in Fairbanks? No offense, but I've been there plenty of times, man.
That's what's in Fairbanks.
Every time we leave Fairbanks, I'm like, why did I even come here, man?
It takes us a handful of years. We're like, yeah, let's do Fairbanks. Then we get done. Oh my god, I'm never coming to Fairbanks again.
I've had some good shows, not with Decepticide, with my previous band, but
how many shows have you guys played there?
Just one, Decepticide one. With my previous band, Murder's Justice, I was played there like about 3 times.
Oh, okay.
And so you know, Zach looked a little rough, but we had a good night, and that was the end of that. Escaped to Ryan's birthday in September the same year, and we played with Zach, and then we all go to my house and have a fucking house party. And he was, you know, going to the bathroom, and just obviously he was doing shit. And I was like, all right, whatever. Again, I'm like, he lives in Fairbanks. That's what they fucking do. And I know a lot of friends that are close to me that do those kind of drugs, and I don't judge them for it. And I've learned to like really upset like a lot of people that do that just because I don't. And anyways, that was the end of that. So you skip 2 years later when we find that he passed. Well, we don't only find out that he died, but that he was in Seattle. He dies in Seattle, and he was in a homeless camp.
He was living in a homeless camp.
He was just straight up homeless. And I couldn't.
He chose it. He chose it. He purposely moved there and to live in that camp.
And so once we started,
because he was getting his drugs there.
Yeah, I think we did a little digging into that, and it came down to the little that we heard was kind of like he was burning all his bridges in Fairbanks, like his friends and family, whatever, and he just left just to get away from everybody and just to continue to do drugs. Supposedly, at first, he moved to like play music, and he was down there, I believe, with one of his ex-bandmates from Death Befallen, and that guy had to kick him out because Zach was on fucking drugs. And then Zach ended up in a homeless camp, and we saw the link for the news that talked about what happened, and they showed the footage where Zach gets hit by the fucking car. And bro, like I was not ready to see that. For one, obviously you don't want to see your friend die on a fucking video, but two, I went from like being really sad about Zach to just being really fucking angry at him. Off. And just
super pissed off.
He threw his fucking, obviously, life away, but someone who was so talented, such a good guitar player, just...
Funny guy, too. He was like a nice guy.
Really nice, yeah. But yeah,
laid back.
But he had a drinking problem, and, he would get really confrontational at times, and that side of Zach I really didn't like.
He would, I didn't know
the
that.
last version of Zach, I didn't...
He was an MMA fighter too. He was a trained fighter, and he had a couple fights under his belt. And I felt like he was one of those guys that, especially when he drinks,
as soon as you get in an argument, he's like, "Oh, you want to
pump his chest because he knows how to fight." So he would always have that in his back pocket, like, "Well, what's up? What do you want to do?" I'm like, "Ah, come on, dude! Like, oh, fucking, I'll beat your ass." Like, no, like, first of all. Yes, you'll kick my ass, but you wanna crazy me, dude. Like, I'm not gonna fight you fair. You think I'm gonna go like this and fight you fair? I'm like,
I'm gonna stab you in the throat with a broken bottle.
Like, if you're gonna hurt me, I'm gonna do something that you're not gonna expect.
It's just randomly he would try to fight.
No, not randomly.
But he'd get drunk, and then you'd get in conversations with him that would turn into not really arguments, but heated conversations, and then his mind would automatically go there. Once he couldn't, like, find a good spot in the conversation to where we can, like, okay, we can end it, then it would always turn into that. Like, okay, well, what the fuck, you want to go? Is that what we're doing now? Let's go. And you're like, no, that's not what we're doing here. Like, I didn't tell you, I think you're wrong, let's fucking fight over it.
Right. Yeah.
But that's where he would, like he said, it's where he would go. Yeah,
he would be more like, so what's up? So what do you want to do about it? I'm like,
that was his wild card. Like, he could pull that.
Right.
Okay, Zach,
and he could fight because he was an MMA fighter.
But
that makes sense.
I live with a guy. He lived with all of us. We
at one time.
At one point, he lived with Ryan. He lived with me for about 6 months, and it's pretty crazy, man. I mean, when we watch videos of old Decepticide and like even pictures, it's just so bizarre that he's just not here. It's gotten a lot easier as time goes by, but when we found out, it was fucking devastating, man.
Strange, yeah.
Yeah, it was a little more devastating than Bobby's, but for me, especially because I live with him. And so I have, just imagine those memories I have with him, just hanging out on the couch, like talking about what we're talking about.
And, he lived with all this. He was closer. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved Fergie with all of my heart. He was one of my closest friends, but Zach, of course, was closer. Not only was he in the band, he lived with all of us. When he was in other bands, we played multiple shows with him. He was one of us, one of our really tight, close circles.
So how do you actually meet the guys in Terraform? Like, how do you guys even start the band? Did you have a band before that?
Destroyer.
Or is that your first band?
I don't think that would qualify as a band, but
Project.
I tried. You know when you're in high school and you try to start.
Oh, bro, I have plenty of those.
Yeah,
me too. Decepticide was my first actual.
I had one called Optical. I had another one called Dirtport. I had a third one. It was something about moose sticking the shit.
It's like you try.
It was with my stepbrother. Yeah,
you're getting into the. You know how it is. You guys know, like you try people and you know who's serious, who's
putting
not.
The feelers out.
Yeah, and like, are your goals, realistically from...
Can I see your knife?
From the perspective of like, if you're looking at it from a psychological perspective, your values have to align to a certain degree. And, obviously playing shows, making music is an integral part of that, not just shooting the shit, getting hammered, and trying to play instruments. And you know,
I thought you said that was a lot of what Destroyer was, just getting fucked up.
Yes, but we could do both of those.
What?
That's fair. That's fair.
The difference was that we could do both of those. So I was in high school and I was 16 or 17. What's up?
Oh no, it was nothing. I was just seeing how the Home Depot buckets look great in the background.
Oh yeah,
we're literally gonna hang out.
I love your podcast. I gotta say, I'm so honored to be on here. I've watched
well,
every
you're one
episode.
of us now, bro. So
I ran into Chris Barton. I think that's his last name, right?
Yeah.
Machine Corpse Chris.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
And he was like, "Yeah, dude, I was just on Enzo's podcast." I was like, "Oh, I've seen an episode," and then I went back and I watched every episode. I love it. Honestly, you have such a. I wish you would do it more regularly, more frequently.
I think if I get back into it, you get better because it's definitely a skill that you can develop, dude. If I heard our first one and it's so cringy to me, dude. I was about to do it again.
Which one was that?
Our very first episode, like. I just realized that I was cussing a lot and I did a lot of like like I would just do those things. Mm-hmm. And when you know, especially when you edit it, so you're really listening to it over and over, and you start to notice it,
catch all the
to where it becomes like nails on the chalkboard, dude. I'm like, okay, I gotta stop doing that.
Totally, it's like I think it's called disfluency. I have a podcast. I've been doing it for 5 years.
And you never invited me.
You never invited us?
I was thinking about it, but I was like, I don't want to, because I know you have a podcast.
You're such a
But we should do a full band one on mine.
Yeah, dude.
I've had a former FBI agent on there. It's more like philosophy and psychology, but we have metal episodes. It started off as like a podcast talking about Gregorian chants. You know, I'm sure you've heard them. They're like the weird Catholic chants that sound really metal. But yeah, we started it like in 2019 talking about Gregorian chants. So I totally understand that though, because I listened back to my own audio so many times. I'm like, wow.
I suck.
What the hell? And you get better at it. You're right.
I'm trash.
Right. I'm just a garbage human.
We interviewed...
I'm just fucking trash, bro.
We interviewed Noam Chomsky, who's like my hero one time. And that was like the highlight of my life.
Yeah, the more you do it, you definitely get better at it as far as like... And you would prepare a little more, like once you start having people coming over to do the podcast, and I would have like throughout the week I would think about things to ask them, and I would just like write them down, and I would have it on my phone, so when we talk, as we're talking, I would like glance over it, so we would never have like dead space or dead, you know.
I need to turn this and kick it out because I'm seeing that I'm facing you guys most of the time because I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
and so the mic is like over here. Is it working still though?
Yeah, dude, but you talk so fucking loud that trust me, it's picking it up.
Dead air is good though, I gotta say, because like from a psychotherapy perspective, like let's say I'm talking like more so on one-on-one, I would say, like if I'm talking to you and having a deep conversation, like they train us, at least in psychotherapy school, to like if there is silence, like silence is usually when people are starting to, you know, kind of ask questions to themselves to give it a deeper answer than what would like impulsively come out.
Right.
So you get like, that's how you get deeper into the conversation, is allow some silence, and it gets darker and like more, I guess in therapy at least, that's how it ends up.
We started off with humble beginnings. It literally just started with me and Enzo going, yeah, let's just, you know, we'll talk about the music scene. You and I will just drink a beer or two and just bullshit, and we'll record it.
Yeah, we were planning on doing this like a month before the pandemic fucking hit. Mm-hmm. And so I believe, did we do the first one before the pandemic hit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then we snuck in the second one because that's when the things got really strict.
Right before the shutdown.
It was a whole like hunker down and stuff. So people were like
scared.
No obligated, but they're like, yeah,
should I
hunker down? And things were scary. So like, you know, I remember talking on the second episode. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like, honestly,
I'm a little worried now.
I'm a little worried because, you know, the reports of people dying, like, and we're out here like doing this podcast
next to each other.
Yeah, next to each other. Well, it's funny, like our first practice, did we do a practice, like a live stream practice?
Yeah, we did. We did a live
I don't. Yeah. It was live stream practice, and oh my god, Ryan, you were wearing fucking rubber gloves and shit. You remember?
No, I was trying to scream through a mask.
Why? Oh, because COVID.
No, because at the time, I lived with Sylvia's parents, and he's super immunocompromised, and it turned into, well, where are you going? I'm like, well, I'm gonna go practice. Oh, you're just gonna go be around people who could be sick? You're just gonna bring that back home with you? You're just gonna get me sick and kill me? I'm like, I guess.
So you're just gonna kill me? So you're
and I made it like 30 seconds trying to scream with a mask on, and then I'm like, yeah, fuck that. And I just pulled the mask down on my chin and just.
But it's funny because we weren't wearing shit before we pressed record, or we went on the live stream, and we like.
Oh, you did it live.
Yeah, we did a live stream, and we all put like our masks and stuff. Uh-huh. But Ryan, you had a mask and you had rubber gloves.
I don't remember having gloves.
Yeah, dude, you had like bright orange rubber gloves.
I don't remember that.
Bro, yeah, I remember that.
But it sounds like that because Pops does have those orange rubber gloves in his garage. Yeah. So I would have grabbed those walking out.
Yeah, you did.
And if I put them on, it was just so if Pops happened to watch the podcast, I'm like, see, I'm not trying to kill you. I'm being careful.
Right. I mean, at the time, that's what we thought. And that's how, science, you eventually whittle it down to what you actually think.
Science.
Right. It was definitely questionable for sure, but like they were trying to help people, I would hope, at least. I know it didn't go very well, but that was the knowledge that was available at the time, at least.
Why don't you go ahead and give us your Terraform Destroyer story?
Oh yeah,
how did you start Destroyer before it became Terraform?
Did you where did you meet these guys?
Yeah, so it was like in high school. I was like 16, and I had this. I had the very same guitar, the ESP LTD KH, whatever. And on MySpace, I had that guitar in my photo, right? And somebody added me because I was holding the guitar in my photo, and it was Zach Potter, who's now the bass player of Heel, the local band. And I was like, should I add this guy? Should I reject him on MySpace,
Oh, on MySpace.
And my whole, the next 10 years of my life right there were, should I add him or reject him? Because I didn't know him. And
That's pretty funny, because
yeah,
had you reject him,
I wouldn't be sitting here right now, most likely.
Maybe. But yeah.
Because, he was an important part of Terraform, but so I accepted it, obviously, and he's like, dude, your KH is fucking sick. Do you go to West High School? I was like, yeah, I go to West. He's like, could you bring your guitar so I could see it? I was like, sure. Will you be there on Monday?
Could you bring your guitar so I can see it? Yeah,
pretty much.
That's nice.
I mean, you know how Zach is. He's like a
I don't.
He's like a savant. I'm pretty sure he has I
really don't. I thought that dude fucking either didn't like me or hated me.
Yeah, I thought he hated my guts.
The whole time, Terraform and Destroyer, Terraform, and Decepticide were playing shows.
He respected you guys. And
yeah,
still does.
I admire the hell out of it. As a guitar player, I've always I admire you a lot because I always admire guitar players and / singers. I have so much respect for that because I've always wished I could do that, play guitar and scream or sing at the same time. And but he was a very, very solid guitar player. Totally. And I don't know
he's better than me.
Who did the writing in Terraform, if it's 50-50, but he seems to be the kind of guy that would write a lot of it.
Totally. But I think I wrote the most, but every song was at least one or two riffs with him. And I don't ever want to say that I sat and wrote the whole thing because I came up with the majority of the riffs, but we arranged them together. Yeah. A lot of the riffs were just mine, and I was I spearheaded the writing process.
He was saying about Zach, I think I told you before, and I actually told Enzo too, once you joined, it's I always kind of thought you didn't like us, and then when I talked to you, and you were like, no man, I've always loved you guys, man, and I was like, yeah, but you were all super, super competitive. He goes, yeah, but it was I think it was Zach, who I kind of fed the energy off of, where I'm like, man, they just really don't like us.
I think he gives the vibe of he's competing with other bands, or he doesn't give a shit about the bands by his own.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about anybody.
It wasn't until you joined and started talking to us about it where I'm like, okay, no, now that you pointed out, you were showing up at shows and you were throwing down, and I don't know why I always thought that you hated us, man.
I'll tell you about my
competition for Slayer or
Yes, that was fucking brutal. But I'll tell you about my first Decepticide show experience.
Go ahead.
But Zach, he doesn't express himself in terms of like care and stuff very well, at least in my experience. But I've had long, deep conversations with him. We went to Turkey together, spent a lot of time talking with him there on the way there. It was great, and he's my brother. I really care about him, but he definitely is. He's phenomenal. He pushed me so hard. As soon as we started hanging out, we started talking about Slayer. We started talking about. I was really into like Leprosy era death at the time, and Scream Bloody Gore era death. And then after that, he was like, yo, I told him, actually, this is when you guys were just, like, 2008, 2009, you guys were just starting.
Forming.
And Corrupture was huge, and I was obsessed with Corrupture. I was getting lessons from Spencer, and I told him, like, we're going to have the biggest band in town, and it's going to be fucking sweet. I'm telling you right now, I put my life on that. And I don't know if that's a really weird thing to quantify, and I don't think you could quantify it. But
when you guys, sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
When you guys, the first year that you were playing, and the shows that I catch, you guys, whether we were playing together or like I went to a show and you guys were playing, I don't know if you remember me telling you, but I remember telling somebody, I'm like, dude, those guys, if they stay together, yeah. No, because at this time that this episode already had a couple of years, and already been in another band for like 2.5 years, so I knew what it takes and how hard it is to stay together. And I've seen bands that do stay together, and they either jump ship too fast as far as like moving out of state and try to make it, or they just break up along the way, and within the first year or the first like 2 or 3 years, and it's really, really fucking tough to stay together. And so I remember always saying like, if they stay together, those guys are gonna be fucking amazing here in the next 4 to 5 years.
Because when I first got you guys, like your energy was crazy, frantic,
and I was
manic,
and I was really
manic energy.
I was really fucking rooting for you guys because at the time, since we just got back to Alaska, we basically, lack of better words, like we gave up on the whole like trying to be the top dogs or try to get to the next level. We felt like we accomplished that so fast that's why we moved out of state, and then family brought us back to Alaska. It wasn't because we failed. We were actually doing really good in this short time that we were out of state.
I've seen the DVD.
Yeah
it's amazing. I agree, and I was at your guys' show before you left.
Really?
Yeah, it was my first Decepticide show.
It was our goodbye show?
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Shit.
Oh, I bet that was fucking huge, dude.
Gnarly.
Yeah, I remember that it was packed.
I was right up front. I was right in front of you. I would never think that I would be playing.
I bet I have footage of that, and you would be right there, man. I bet, because I used to record everything.
That's right before we started. I think later that year we started.
But yeah, man. I was like, man, those guys, and I really was rooting for you guys because there were so many bands that were starting and doing a little bit good, and they would just be ready to like hit the road and be like, we're
people
leaving.
like us, we're leaving.
Right.
And the worst, for one, they would break up, and two, for me, it was like not the best band to represent Alaska as far as metal. And I was like, man, if those kids fucking get out of Alaska, it would be
milestone.
It would be fucking awesome. Like I would be really proud to say, man, like I know those guys, man. Like they're representing Alaska, and they got all my fucking support because you guys. True fucking metal. No gimmicks. Well, you guys got a little gimmick there for a minute.
The pink guitar.
Yeah.
No, the pink guitar. But
obnoxious on purpose.
You guys went with like, oh, now we're gonna dress for like.
But that was like a reaction to what I was seeing at the time online, at least, when we would wear suits. And also, I'm a huge Beatles fan. For like their songwriting abilities, which is a huge influence on how I decided to like write music, but like I know it's inapplicable to what goes on in 2024, but they were nonetheless major breakthrough. But nonetheless, I was like I was obsessed with the early era of the Beatles, so I wanted to incorporate that, and also like everyone saw us as a thrash band, so I was like, no, fuck that. And that was the biggest fuck you I could think. We're dressing like raggedy motherfuckers, but instead I'm just going to wear a suit. And we did that for like maybe a few shows, and it was fun. It was just something we did.
Yeah. It come off as kind of gimmick. It actually comes off of that. It's like, you are a thrash band, and when I hear the music and I expect to see Metallica in the 80s,
Yeah,
and
your
that's
sound was
that's
thrashed.
kind of how you used to dress. And so when you would put a suit, it's like, oh, you're trying to be one of those bands that like, I'm this genre, but I'm gonna dress completely different from it.
Yeah.
But this is not.
I would think it was more ironic. Like we realized we weren't trying to do it. Like we weren't realizing what we were doing. We understood that what we were doing was like stupid, but we did it anyway because fuck it. Like I guess what we were trying to do is that we were trying to show that we were more than just
a thrash band.
A thrash band, yeah. And we were expanding our horizons at the time. But so yeah, I met Zach.
Yeah.
And he's like my brother. I love that man. But and then he was like, hey, I know this other Zach. He plays drums. And then Cody, they came as a package deal, and like Cody was
kind of like Decepticide. Ryan and Clay,
player.
They came as a package deal.
Who was Clay?
Our very first bass player.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right. Blonde guy? What, did he have blonde hair?
No, he was a redhead.
Blondie red. Yeah, he had like slightly dirty blondish type hair that he kept really short, but he had a red goatee.
Did he play Summer Meltdown with you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I recognize what he looks like.
Yeah, he played 2 of them.
He looked metal.
So Zach came in with Cody.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, yes. Zach. I thought you were talking about
you had to roll the ball again.
I was like, oh, we're back to Zach.
Come on, man. Push that ball.
No,
push it forward.
So Zach came with Cody, and Cody had a garage, and that's where we started jamming. And we used all of Cody's gear. We used his Marshall Vintage Modern. We used his Vintage 30, which I blew. And then we used his bass amp, his bass.
So he had a full setup?
He had everything. He had the drum kit. We used all of his shit. And Cody's a great guy, too. But after that, we wrote these songs, and I was like, immediately, I had just not graduated, I dropped out of high school, and I was like, I want to start a band, and immediately started playing shows with like To the Depths, and we played our second show was She at the Downstairs. It was like 20.
Famine came after.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like Destroyer. That at the time, I saw you guys play a lot of shows with Famine.
Well, that was Eddie's band, right?
Yeah, Eddie. Yeah, and then that whole story.
He's a really good musician too.
Eddie's amazing.
I've always loved that name.
I really
too.
liked
Famine. I love that name.
Yeah, I remember. I always liked his guitar playing.
Yeah, he's great. He's really he comes up with interesting things. But yeah, Eddie came into the band when this really ridiculous story where we got hammered, which was a very normal thing, and Cody ran Zach Potter over with a box truck, and I kicked him out of the band, and we got Eddie in the band, and then we opened for Suicide Silence like 2 weeks later. John McAlpin was in the band in between there intermittently for like 2 weeks.
John was also a really good guitar player.
Yeah, John was
pretty
amazing.
Rip.
I learned a lot from John, learned a lot from Eddie, and yeah, that was it. We kind of just carried it on, and eventually
it's funny, like, oh, you mentioned all these guys. There's yourself, Zach, Eddie, John, and I've always looked at all 4 of you guys and many other guitar players as like far superior than what I was. I'm like, these guys can actually fucking play, dude.
Really?
Like, yeah, dude. I always thought like you guys were like far better guitar players. He's been beating
himself down since
no. I don't. No. You guys are great guitar players.
You're Enzo.
But
we may be great guitar players, but you're Enzo.
But you're not me. Dude. No, it wasn't like that. But I've always like looked at you guys as like, man, you guys have amazing skills, amazing guitar players. I couldn't play what you guys do. Like I couldn't. I mean, I could. You can do anything with practice, right? But I knew that like if you were trying to teach me one of your songs, like, I'd be like, yeah, I can't play that right now, and maybe not fucking in a month or so. But like, yeah, I can do it. But I always admire all 4 of you guys for the guitar players that you were, and I was not intimidated by it, but I was always conscious how much better you guys were as far as being guitar players, and that's why I was saying like, if they stay together, man, I was like, if I got this far and I've made what Decepticide is today, I'm like, if these guys can fucking be fucking anything, man. And again, I would have been so happy to see a real metal band representing Alaska outside of Alaska in lower 48.
If we stuck with it,
but you didn't.
We didn't. Yeah,
totally didn't.
I got in a relationship with someone who had multiple kids, and I kind of started focusing on that.
Dadded up.
Yeah, and that was great at the time. It made sense, and it was a great learning experience. And then, Zach had a kid, and then I opened the restaurant, and shit happens. And I think about it all the time. It was so special to me. I think about it all the time. Yes. But I want to say about you being a guitarist, we may have been more technically skilled. I know John at least was more technically skilled for sure, but I was just good at faking it. I still am. I just know how to fake it. You know how to fake it. But like as I've been watching, over the last almost 9 months now that I've been in the band,
God, dude, yeah.
I learn something new every time I watch you play guitar. Like your songwriting is so superior, and like
I think I said that in the room one day. Because I think you said something, and I was like, I know, Murat. I know how to write a fucking song.
I know how to write a jam.
And this has been basically my motto for fucking years. I've seen guys like you being far superior guitar players. I'd be like, fuck, dude, I can't play like that. But I feel like it was one thing I've always had in my back pocket. And like, I know how to write a good song that is fun to play. It's a good song, and it's going to fucking hit for the fans. So like I always like had that in my back pocket, and I always felt like if I only have what they have, just a little bit more of that, man, it would be fucking rolling.
I think you're deceptive in how technically skilled you are, in my opinion. You shock me every time I hear you, because I've heard you play at shows a lot, but now I'm hearing you in more informal settings. And
really? I thought you were going to be actually disappointed.
Not at all. No, not at all.
I thought you were going to be like, oh, is this what he's doing? And
that's so much easier than I thought.
Every time we had a new musician in the room, and I have to like teach him shit, and they start with the attitude of like, oh man, but you guys are crazy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play that. And my attitude has always been like, as soon as I showed you, you're going to be disappointed of how easy it is. And I always felt like I played everything fairly easy.
Yeah. No, I think that I always go back to this quote by Leonardo da Vinci, and he says, the simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. It's difficult to make something simple and unique. And I think Decepticide does that every time. That's why you guys are Decepticide, and that's why Terraform died.
Well, I think it's because that, like you were mentioning, life takes so many turns. Right. You mentioned relationship with kids. You guys kicked up Cody. The change of lineups. We know how frustrating that is.
Yeah, drugs.
It's really alcohol. Yeah. You can get fucking really lost on that and really stuck on that. Like,
totally,
dude. Like, all right, dude. We get it. You party. At what point you gonna say like, okay, man, let's not get fucked up before a show, and let's not get fucked up during the show. How about we just play, do a good fucking job because people came to see us and respect that.
We'll celebrate afterwards.
And you can celebrate afterwards. And as you get older, even afterwards, I mean, like, do I really want to be hungover the next day? Like, I'm going to be tired already, there's that.
I've told people numerous times, I think one of the strongest things that we've always had as Decepticide is our absolute sheer will to not let it die. Like, anytime it reaches a point where it feels like it's dying, like him and I were just talking about this.
Well, I think we hold ourselves accountable, too. It's like, we know, obviously, we definitely know it now, but like, as we were coming up, we know that, no, dude, you can't. If you want to put on a good show, you just can't get fucked up because you're conscious of how shitty you're performing.
Right. So
if you hold yourself accountable and you're like, well, that was just one show. Like, no, dude. Like,
unless you're Terraform.
Well, case in point, we did we were playing a show and which song was that? It was New Level. And I completely drunkenly forgot the entire first lyrics, like completely. And I'm like kind of just making it up as I go because I'm like fucking drunk and I can't remember. And dude, after the show, like it didn't even allow us to like get like off stage and like, oh, we're all good. Like Enzo walked immediately up to me and goes, what the fuck were you doing? I'm like, what do you mean, bro? And he's like, you messed up those lyrics completely. Like, you didn't have any idea what you were doing. We cannot get fucked up before shows if you're not going to do your job. As a guitar player,
you focus so much on like playing right, and if you notice that your vocalist is actually not
butchering,
even singing it right,
just butchering,
it must be really bad. Yeah,
he was very bad.
I was butchering. Yeah, I told you I was just making it up as I go. I was drunk as shit, and I just.
Like again, like we hold ourselves accountable. And like even recently, I called Ryan. I'm like, hey, dude, I've been fucking watching. I got a new laptop, so I finally was able to download like a bunch of videos of like concerts that we've been playing in the past year or so. So like, I was finally getting to like listen to them, like editing them, and so now I'm listening to Ryan. And I'm like, dude, do you realize you sounded like shit like midway through the show? Like your highs are gone. And I'm like, you're fucking better than that, dude. Like, and you already know this. You're better than that. I was like, you need in-ears. You need to hear yourself. You're just pushing hard. You don't sound shitty because you don't have the voice anymore. You sound shitty because you're fucking pushing yourself to where like you can't even hear yourself.
You're trying to hear yourself.
So you're trying to hear yourself by like volume of your own fucking like.
I used to do that a lot.
Well, and
because the monitors were awful.
Age-wise, now I've got a lot worse hearing loss than I did 10 years ago. So now even before I could use my volume and I could be like, okay, there I am, and I could still hear myself. I've lost that ability now to just increase my volume. Like, okay, I can hear myself now. I no longer can do that.
Yeah, it sounds painful, but like, one thing about this band and even Brian, dude, like. I think we've gotten really fucking good about hearing each other and listening to criticism. And when Brian tells me a riff sucks, man, I don't go and be like, well, whatever, man, that's a good riff. Like, I think we should still play. Like, all right, dude, say less. Let's scratch it. If I tell Ryan, like, dude, you sound like shit, man, and let's talk about it. Why does you sound like shit? It's not because of your voice, because you got it, man. You always have it. And it's like, dude, let's get someone in here. So talk about like what's not working, and we don't bottle shit up.
Yeah, you got to look at it from an objective point of view because we all kind of impact each other.
And like any relationship, we have to fucking communicate and talk about the issues. Right. Otherwise, that's what destroys relationships.
Right.
So what ended up happening with Terraform? I mean, you guys started as Destroyer. Yeah, and then you guys switched name. What do you guys switch name?
Well, because there was Destroyer 666, and then there was Destroyer that's like an indie jazz band, I think, that they have like a sax player.
You let some indie jazz band take your name.
I guess, and I picked that randomly. I don't know why. I wanted a name with a D because I was really into death, at the time. And I still love death, but...
Decepticide.
Right. Exactly. But then, we matured even then. And, like, I started listening to Blondie. And that was when I started getting into, like, 60s music. And, I branched out. I started branching out for whatever reason. And
started playing the piano.
Started playing piano and, like, started doing LSD, stuff like that.
Really getting into the early Beatles era.
Right. But then we were like, we want to be serious. So if we want to be taken serious, we need a serious name. What are we going to call ourselves? And, I was reading a lot of my ex-girlfriend.
I guess Destroyer is like chewing nose. It's like, Destroyer.
Exactly. It's like fucking metal.
We are the Destroyers.
Right.
It'd be like naming your bane Satan.
Like,
right?
Well, it's Satan.
Like, we are Satan.
Destroyer. People are not going to think like, is this an indie band?
Exactly.
Well, apparently there's a jazz band.
There is. They're from Canada.
That just figures.
Out of all places.
Apparently they're pretty popular. I don't know if they exist still.
An indie jazz band from Canada named Destroyer.
There was one more Decepticide on MySpace when we started Decepticide.
Yeah, they were in Vegas.
They were a screamo band, a screamo emo or fucking metal band.
They were terrible.
But they were terrible.
They were really bad. They were really bad.
They didn't have many followers, so I was never worried that they were going to take off.
Such a unique name, I think. I love it.
It really
was. I was really like thrown off that there was like another one. I'm like,
how did they come up with that too?
I always wanted to ask him, but like I didn't want to be like, I don't know. What if they were like, hey man, like that's her name, and we're gonna fucking like get a license for it.
You guys put the two words together, right? Like deception and homicide.
Deception and genocide. Like
genocide.
Well, the end of all falsehood, the end of all lies was kind of how I came about doing it.
Well, how did you come up with that?
Dude, we literally spent months spitballing, dude, and at one point, no joke, I had a fucking notebook and I was literally just writing words on it, and I was trying to match words and trying to like put things together. Because Enzo and I both agreed we want one name. Not multiple words, one single word name. We don't want multiple.
We didn't want anyone to ever put an acronym on our name.
We didn't MIJ for MERS. We didn't want that. We wanted, if you were talking about us, you had to say our whole name.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah,
you can't.
You had to say the whole name.
It's memorable.
You can't say Decepticide.
And at the time too, also I was in love with Corrupture, which was it was a made up word. It was two regular words mixed together to make a really cool sounding word. So I was kind of, like I said, I had literally had notebook and I'm just like matching and like trying to like create words together, and it just kind of came on me. And
you were like, that's the one.
I had like 3 or 4.
I'm gonna take a piss. You guys keep going.
I had 3 or 4 to choose from that I liked, but when I said it was the first one I said to Enzo, and he was like, "That's it. That's the one right there." He goes, "That's going to be it. That's going to work."
All I know is that when you first said Decepticide, I was like, "That's it."
Yeah. That was exactly it.
It's great.
He immediately was like, "Yeah, that's the one. That's it. That's going to work." And then there was other little cool things about it that came about, like the fact that it's 11 letters and the center letter is a T, which could be the the cross, kind of like the centered piece of the name.
It's like symmetrical.
Exactly. Which I'm also, my OCD, I'm super into symmetrics.
I noticed that because Enzo asked me if I could like kind of try something new before I was in the band with the logo, and I tried, he was like, "Can you streamline it, make it like more modern?" And I tried on like a Photoshop model, and I as I was doing it, I was noticing the intricacies of the logo. I was like, "This is a great logo."
It is really good. I'm all looking for it now on the wall. It's like I know.
I'm so familiar, like before I joined Decepticide, and after I joined, I was like, I'm gonna watch this DVD. I learned all the music within 2 months, and I was like, that's how I do things. That's how I'm taught to do things as well in like psychology. You're supposed to gather the information and then dissect it and figure it out. And so I was like, I want to gather all this information, and I want to embody the band. I want to be the band.
No doubt.
So it was fun, looking at everything, and I've known you guys too, but
drink a lot of Fireball.
The name is so Decepticide is so perfect. Decepticide and Corrupture, I always see you guys as the hierarchy, and even back then,
S tier naming wise.
Not just naming, when we became a band, I was like, we need to be like Decepticide and Corrupture, It was like red and green,
Yep.
You guys were
red and black was always our.
It was the contrast. You guys were like Metallica and Megadeth or something, some sort of contrast.
How you kind of saw it, like the 2 corners.
And you guys were slightly older than me and everyone else in the band, and you guys played shows. So I aspired to be like you guys. I mean, everybody did, realistically.
Beautiful. Doing a Decepticast. I'm wearing Decepti headphones while sipping a Decepti beer.
What?
He's got to pee now too.
Well, it's like when we do the podcast, we're like Decepticast.
I like it, but
two
it's
on the
not,
nose.
Yeah, it's
it's like back to putting Decepti into anything, and it just seemed kind of lazy. So
too easy. It's too easy.
Then it was like, well, MetalCast. I'm like, yeah, that was fine. I think we were gonna go 907 MetalCast, and it just ended up in MetalCast. And then I don't know, we had the whole talk about well, is this a Decepticide podcast, or this is our podcast, or is this just it's what it is.
And it's not really ours. It's more your podcast, bro. You know what I mean? I just kind of championed it with you. Where if you're always down to do one, I'll always do one with you. And because it's all your equipment, your recording, you do the editing and all of that.
Yeah, man. Fucking, I was just listening to our previous podcast and
did you watch us grow over podcasts?
No, I was telling you that the first episode was cringe. It's if anybody wants to listen to this podcast, if they go to the first episode, it would kind of suck because they would be like, I don't want to listen more of this times 15 episodes or however episodes we got. But it was pretty interesting once you start bringing older people and listening to their stories. Mercy was probably one of my favorite ones as far as because like he opened up a lot, and like his story was like really really interesting. Chris Boops, he was pretty fun just because just learning how like where he came from and all that, and I have so much history with his previous bands like Double Fines and Spitshine, so that was pretty cool. And Christian and Barton, they had like pretty interesting stories of like where they came like, as far as like music.
Christian's was one of my favorite.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I love learning that Machine Course was like basically his projects from like way before the band here in Alaska formed.
Just kind of
So it was kind of like, but on that episode I was listening to that and just hearing how he fell in love over Dennis. I thought it was always kind of funny. I was like, man, because I felt like it was just because like it reminded me when I met Dennis.
You fell in love too.
Yeah, and I was like, man, like that's exactly how I felt, man. Like when this guy showed up, I was like, I just love his energy, and I could see that this guy was a real metalhead and a real performer. Like he really believed anything he screamed on stage. He always represented himself as he was the best in town.
The planet.
Even if he wasn't, he really believed
he had
that.
The energy that he was.
I always appreciate that about him. And that's who I try to be in Decepticide too when we go up on stage and we play these concerts. To me, we are the best. Even if we're not. Even if we're playing with bands that I feel like, hey, maybe they're a little heavier than us. Or we're opening
for big bands that handle business. Well, you've said it to me numerous times. It's like we're going up there to play a show to blow everybody out of the water.
We got your back, so you act like we are it, man. And this is no disrespect to anybody. And it's not even to be competitive. It's just
that's the mentality we carry on stage.
It's just the mentality that we've had for so many years. Just like, you are the best. Play like you are the best. Like, this isn't at this play one. Like any opening
every
band.
Single person in that room is there specifically to see you.
Yeah.
Whether we're opening for a big band or not, everyone's here to see you.
Yeah.
Well, especially in the beginning when you got a lot of opening spots where you're like, oh, you guys are opening, like, oh, that always sucked, but
we wanted to make sure people could follow us.
Our attitude was like, let's play, pretend this room is packed and they came to see us.
Let's have fun.
You're always gonna make an extra 10 new fans that you didn't have before. And that's how our first years went.
That was
basically the attitude. Every show that we play, even if we were the first band playing, just pretend you're the headliner and you're playing in front of thousands of people. And that's how we create. I feel like that's how we made our fan base, just from like our concerts. And it wasn't just the fans; it was the venues, like the fucking promoters and shit. Like holy shit, these guys fucking like really play, like
really throw down. Yeah.
Where was the first Decepticide show?
Paddleboat Cafe.
Oh, really? At the Paddleboat?
On Goose Lake.
UA.
And we had an incredibly beautiful spot. Out of 5 bands, we were number 3, so we were dead in the center. And the other 4 bands were all very, very popular, already formed fan-based bands. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of got dropped right in the middle. It was perfect.
Good start.
Yeah, it was perfect.
I think our first show was not with Corrupture.
It was Callahan.
It was Callahan, Glass Halo.
I'm spacing the name.
I think it was before fucking goddamn it, Corrupture. It was Bloodfist.
No, it was Corrupture.
It was Corrupture.
It was Corrupture.
Then it was Corrupture, Callahan, and Glass Halo. I think that was.
No, there was one more band. I want to say it was Omerta.
No, I don't think so,
but, dude. I'm sure we were one of 5.
Okay, I think you're right because Zach was there, and I have footage of Zach backstage, and he came to.
So maybe been Daps.
Yeah, that's before.
Okay, all right.
Because he came to say hi to us, and
that's right. He still looked like a kid. He still had long hair and a beanie.
He had a bandana.
When I smoked weed with him in the parking lot, and I got Brian drunk.
Who smokes weed anymore? What a bunch of losers.
Right.
Actually, I was smoking last night.
Yeah.
I was vaping. No, not the same.
Gonna get that popcorn lung.
Yeah.
So what happened with the Terraform?
Oh, the name, right? Is that what we're on?
Yeah, that's where we're at. That's where we
right.
paused
So, my ex-girlfriend...
We are never going to finish the story.
Yeah,
it's pretty short. This is kind of where it ends. My ex-girlfriend sent me a book because she was living out in Kenai at the time. It was a book about Carl Sagan, and like I said, I was dropping a lot of acid, or we were all dropping acid, smoking weed, and getting drunk at the time. And then,
you're okay with your parents watching this, right?
My dad doesn't care.
His dad was just
I'm 32.
He's on acid right now,
I'm an
probably.
adult, damn it.
He's probably high as hell right now.
We started exploring science, and these were like the origins of my like explorations of science as well. As a scientist currently, but so we, she sent me this book. It was a Carl Sagan book, and I started reading it, and it was this like I think it was a fictional book, and there was this word called terraforming. And I was like, "What is terraform? What is terraforming?" And then it said terraform. I was like, "That sounds pretty cool." And it's the process of turning a planet into a habitable planet,
turning unlivable land into livable land.
Mm-hmm. For some reason, it sounded cool, and we went with it. And then it was right before we opened for Suicide Silence in like 2012, and then that was it. We just started writing songs.
And so, how did the band end?
The band like dissolved. Like we never really ended. In fact, I don't feel
like anyone actually said we quit. Or
I still feel like like I said, like especially with Zach Potter and I have such a close bond, in my opinion. We grew up together. We all grew up together. Like I remember the old bassist for Decepticide, Casey. He said this one thing one time that like still sticks with me. He's like,
Casey?
Casey. Yeah,
Casey?
Yeah.
Ex-bass player, Casey?
Ex-bass player, yeah. We were supposed to all be playing at the Avenue.
My favorite black man.
Totally. He's amazing. He's a great, beautiful man.
He is very handsome.
He is.
He tried to box me when we had this whole Brett Manis like fiasco, and Brett was trying to fight everybody in the ring like legally, and like Casey was like, "Hey, dude, we should be the co-main event." It's like, "You want to box?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man." And then I went to see Thunderfish play one day. Uh-huh. Well, I didn't go to see it. They were just playing.
Thunderfish was great.
He was just wearing a vest.
I didn't like, bro, we got to go see Thunderfish. All right, Casey, I'm sorry. I'm just playing it. But this fucking dude takes his shirt off, and this dude is fucking ripped, man. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we're not fighting, dude. You work out. I do nothing. like I'm slim, and like, dude, this dude was ripped. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're not gonna punk me like that. We're not gonna fight. You're gonna knock me the fuck out, dude. Fuck that. Anyways,
Casey said that?
No, I told him like, we're not fighting because you're ripped, dude. Like, you obviously work out or taking all the steroids Alaska has to offer. I don't know.
That's hilarious.
All of them.
Yeah, all of them.
So yeah, we were supposed to play at the Ave. And Thunderfish was playing. It was us, Thunderfish, and Siege Engine, which was Brett's band.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
So we were supposed to, be playing that show. But my dad at the time was working at Villanova, which was a restaurant that I used to work at as well. But he had a table that was staying late, so we couldn't get in to the gig because we were under 21. And I was like, we can't make it. And the next day I'm talking to Casey on Facebook Messenger, and he's like, why couldn't you guys make it? I was like, yeah, my dad couldn't make it. And he's like, parents, I thought you guys were spawned. Like we were just like these creatures that appeared and played metal, and that's kind of, yeah, that stuck with me. And that was kind of like how Terraform was.
It's like, I am a spawn.
Right. I don't know how that related to, but like how we dissolved was, oh yeah, that's how we're all connected. We just kind of like appeared in this world as people that played metal music, and we had a gift, but it was like, a short fuse burns fast and hot, and
brightest fires burn faster.
The last show we played in 2018 or 17, it was a Megadeth tribute show at Coots, and interestingly enough, I had opened the restaurant at the time, and it was when Megadeth had like started their beer, so the wine distributor who was selling wine to me at my restaurant was also hosting the show. Ironically, I didn't know. And we played the show where we played a bunch of Megadeth covers. And yeah, we never played again. We just kind of stopped talking about Terraform. We never broke up.
But don't you guys have like, hey, these days we practice and we'll see you guys at practice? Or
no, I think we dissolved. I don't think we were like, Terraform.
Guys just kind of stopped calling each other and hooking up. And
yeah, I saw Zach Cross every day because we worked together. He worked for me we worked together for like 7 years. Or 8 years at the restaurant. I saw Zach.
Oh, he worked there?
Yeah, he was. Zach is also my brother, and yeah, he was there every day. He started working for me.
Am I your brother now?
Of course.
What about Ryan?
Talk about white brother.
Totally. I mean, we're metal brothers.
White
I was talking to Zach about you guys today at lunch, and but yeah, so Zach worked for I don't want to say he worked for me because I'm anti-capitalist, but we worked together and for like 7 or 8 years, and it was amazing. And Zach Potter worked there for a period of time, and Eddie worked there for a period of time, and then we never really played music together as Terraform again. But we started Scorched Earth last year. We wrote an EP together, and then we dissolved again. That was fun.
When you guys first started playing, I know I was always impressed. Like I told you, you guys had really, really manic, really, really like powerfully frantic energy, which I really, really liked.
That was the shit that I was like, man, you have to stay together, man. This is awesome.
I didn't realize
I
didn't realize just the magnitude of your energy until that time at Coots where you're like, hey, you guys do Rain and Blood. Ryan, why don't you come up here and do the vocals for Rain and Blood?
Did you do that?
Well, you don't remember? Dude, I got up on stage and you guys literally played that song 2 or 3 times faster than it's like literally played. Like I physically vocally could not keep up with the way you guys so fucking fast.
Did you do it though?
I tried until you got to the parts where it was slower with the chorus, and then I was able to jump in and fucking do the vocals on it. But you guys played it so ridiculously fast that the song only lasted like 1 minute and 30 seconds. You guys played it so fast. I'm like, why'd you play that so fast? And
Brent was saying the same thing.
Your explanation was something along the lines of, well, you came up there and we wanted to make sure that, we threw down. And I'm like, yeah, well, you guys are like psychopaths, man. You guys are basically seizuring all those fucking notes.
We were machines. But also, we were having so many genres bleed into our influence. And again, we were dropping acid.
You guys were covering Sepultura too. What song?
Sepultura. We did multiple Sepultura songs. We did Troops of Doom. We did Inner Self.
Inner Self. That's the one I remember you guys played.
Slaves of Pain.
And it was like so sped up. I was like, dude.
Sepultura, that's how Sepultura is too. Like, if you watch their videos from like 92, 93, they're so fast. And you listen to the album.
I got a bootleg Sepultura DVD that I bought in Colombia in 2008 when I went to visit. And like so Sepultura live in some like fucking random ass fucking venue, and the quality is shit, but they're fucking ripping it, dude.
Yeah,
that's when after climbing off stage after trying that, I'm like, holy fucking shit! Like, I couldn't be vocalist for fucking.
I was rooting for you, man. I was man.
I don't want to go on any more about it because Terraform is something that I hold so deep in my heart, and
You guys, do you think one day you'll be able to restart the project?
I don't know. Honestly,
how do you feel now playing bass for Decepticide then?
Oh, I love it. I feel the same vibe, but we were kids, and it's not so much being in the band, but shit tears people apart. And that's the thing that fucking pisses me off, and difficulties and stuff. And then also the fact that economic struggles, you can't necessarily, it's so hard. Like when we started Scorched Earth, which was supposed to be moving on from Terraform, hence Scorched Earth, we're killing the earth.
Now the land's becoming uninhabitable again.
Exactly. And that was supposed to be moving on, and economic forces stopped that. So it was exactly also what we were writing the music about, was about anti-imperialism, anti-government, anti-oppression, stuff like that. So it was very fitting. But
it was funny. I mean, I think I'm very much of the right.
Yeah.
And I'm very pro-capitalism, and I'm very Constitution.
I'm a constitutionalist
kind of guy.
Yeah. No, I value the Constitution highly.
But one thing, take for example like the company I work for. I go work hard on all these projects, while my boss, the owner of the company, is going to Hawaii 3 times a year, 4 times a year sometimes. And you're like, why am I working so hard so he can go and travel?
Right. What if you guys own the company?
To paradise 4 times a year. And it's not so much of that because my mentality has never been to, have an empire. Be like, oh, maybe I'll have my own company. Right. I'll have my own employers. I'm like, no, but you should be able to work hard and maybe not go to Hawaii 3 times, 4 times a year. But maybe once, man. If you're working so hard for somebody else's company, you should be able to take that. But outside of the vacation, because the economy and the way things are structured, you have to work.
You're beholden,
Monday to Friday, at least 80 hours a week to make your bills paid and all that. And then what about you? And I'm not one of those like, well, what about your time? Like, no, dude, like since fucking prehistoric times, the job of a man is to always work. He's not thinking about like, oh, can I relax? Like, no, he's always working to like find a fucking dinosaur to kill and feed his family. So you know what I mean? Like,
it's debatable.
Our job is always to be working anyways, right? But
to a degree.
To a degree, sure. But for the most,
we work more now than peasants and prehistoric man did historically.
That's right. And so,
which is ridiculous.
I think because we're artists, at the end of the day, we're artists at heart. It's becoming for me really tough to really put in those 80 hours when all I want to do when I go and play with Decepticide, play with Easy Target, doesn't matter. When you step on that stage and you're in front of hundreds of people and you have that energy and that moment with everybody that's so personal.
It's all you want.
And it's amazing. And you're like, why can't I do this as a living? Well, I understand why I can't do it as a living.
Musicians have never been valued.
We live in Alaska. There's not the demand for it. You can only pull this off like really every other 4 months, 5 months to like where you can get like this turnout and this moment. So I get that part. But, most of your time you're spending it making money for somebody else. And even if you've made it for yourself, even if you start your LLC and you're your own company, you still have to work hard to make this bills pay because it's so expensive to not live here, but just live period. Yeah. And it's starting to not make sense to me that you're spending more time making money than fucking creating art and like
making memories,
do things that actually make you happy. Spend time with your family.
Life is short.
Make music. Like, I'm not even talking a 50. I don't even want a 50-50. I'd rather work more than because I take a lot of pride in what I do, and like it really gives you back. Like, you did a good job, you get paid for it, and you get the gratitude from like homeowners in my line of work, anyways. But I'm becoming a little more of like, it's just not right that you're spending most of your life putting in all these work hours
so somebody can go to Hawaii.
So somebody else can go to Hawaii 3 times a fucking year, and I could be fucking writing a song, playing shows more often, or taking this band to the next level. So like everything that we do with this band, I think this episode has been together for so long for so many reasons. One of them is the one that I always cite the most. Like, I'm lucky. I am so blessed and lucky, dude. And I think anybody who's been in a band, and especially you can attest to that. It's like, yeah, dude, I had my brothers in too, but it didn't work out, or it just didn't continue, whatever, dude.
Right.
I was able to continue because I was just lucky. It's just pure luck, man. I just found the right guys when I did. And even I was telling Ryan about my other projects, Easy Target, I'm playing bass in this band, and it's kind of falling apart. It's like, yeah, see, this is how most bands go through. Most bands go through this like honeymoon period, have good shows, and then the moment there's like any disagreement or whatever, they can break up like so quick. Right. But I was so lucky to be with, which is funny. Like, I have a lot of pride and a big ego. So does Brian. And then Ryan is like the
kind of part of being.
And then Ryan is like the most like neutral, like keeping the peace kind of guy. So he's kind of like our anchor in the band. And for some reason, even with our egos and our attitudes and like our backgrounds, like for some reason, the three of us have managed to like always work anything out, anything that we're not happy with, and continue moving forward.
Totally.
So, yeah, man, it's just I'm starting to see the whole 80-hour work week just less and less appealing. I'm trying to find ways to like break through the fucking matrix and be like get out of it. If not completely, at least some to where like, dude, I can't do this. Like,
you have children.
You can't do this until you're 60.
Obviously. But, you know, we live in a time where there's a lot of ways to make money.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find it to where I can make that money and I can start spending more time in music and in art.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, I've said this multiple times, but, like, there's the general idea of a liberal who essentially values that sort of, like, similar hierarchy. And I have a very nuanced perspective on politics because I spend a lot of time reading about politics. But I would say that my politics align more so with you guys than the liberal person, other than like certain things in certain ways. But yeah, I value like work and labor so much, especially the labor you do. And
people have to
and the labor you do.
Value work. Some people that talk about like, well, how come we work 5 days a week and then you only get 2 days off? I'm like, do you really want 5 days off too? Do you want to work half and half?
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know the whole story about like how weekends came about, but it was because of anarchists. Because, you know, people were working 7 days a week until the anarchists like, you know, went on this whole strike and like civil disobedience, and that's how we have weekends. So like historically, it's been a pro labor movement.
I feel that we could have one more day.
Yeah.
Fuck holidays.
That's what Japan's doing, I think.
4-3 would be perfect.
I think 3 days is good. I think 4 days, I'm gonna start to feel like I'm not because you start taking not advantage, but like you start being lazy. You know, okay, the first day and 2 you relax. The third day you might do some productive stuff around your house. The 4th day, man, you might.
Japan's working 4 days. They're working 4 days, 3 days off.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I think would be perfect.
Productivity is like skyrocketing because you know your brain needs time to rest.
Well, that and it's the modern day man. Like you work harder on your 2 days off than you do on your work days because you get home and it's like now all the stuff I couldn't do because I was at work now I have to do. I have to go shopping. I have to do the lawn work. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to take the kids here. I have to do this. I have to do that. You know, it's you have a laundry list of stuff that builds up throughout the week that you have to wait till Saturday. And now you're also in a society where 85% of the rest of the fucking state's doing the same thing. Yeah. So now on a Saturday where you're like, well, fuck, I put off going grocery shopping. I have to go.
What am I gonna do?
Now it's a freaking zoo at Costco, you know, on a Saturday at 11 o'clock.
Dude, fucking Sunday at 3 in the afternoon at Costco, dude. Fuck
nuts,
that,
dude.
My dad took me there like a month ago to like, you know, because they have the AT&T stands there, and I was like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into?
It's terrible. You know, it is. It's awful.
Oh, do you guys remember that show in Alyeska?
Oh, yeah.
Where we had to carry the amps.
Gear halfway up the mountain.
Yeah, dude, when we play in the fucking, like, not in the middle of the mountain, but we're, like, at the fucking, like, landing and
like
shit.
On a slope.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And they were like, well, you guys are going to play while all the really awesome half-pipe stuff's going on, but when they actually had the show going, it was, like, almost basically over. You know, it was, like, at the very, very end of the competition where most people had already gone home.
You remember how they didn't have money to pay us, and they paid Decepticide with a skateboard?
How do you guys always get paid? We just, like, went home. You always were like...
Enzo would never let us
Well, you guys were also bigger
paid.
than us then, but...
Enzo would never allow us to not get paid. There's
never got paid.
Times we didn't, but Enzo, basically his mentality is that we put in all the work,
I'm okay with not getting paid. We were trying to get, like, a foot on the door in some places and stuff. But for the most part, you know, ever since... I don't know, man, we played so many concerts and... you gotta see it this way. When you go and open, it doesn't matter that you open for some big band. Like, you still there, you put the time, and you guys know me, dude. Like, I will always put the time to advertise. Everything's advertisement for me. So, like, we advertise the show.
We're very good at self-advertising.
I feel like whatever show we're opening for, we're definitely contributing to.
You have to.
I feel like we're not a band that, like, well, we're just lucky to be there. Like, yeah, thanks for the offer to open for whatever band, but like, we're definitely bringing some of our crowd who maybe don't even know the fucking main band that you're bringing up here.
Or wouldn't necessarily go on a Thursday night if we hadn't been playing.
Right, yeah.
And I think I think it came also with us having kids to where like our time is very, very valuable. To where like, as before, it's like, you know, we live to party, so like if we got fucking
free drinks and
if we got a tab at the bar, then we were like, oh cool, we didn't have to pay for drinks tonight, and all we did was like play music, which we had fun, and then we didn't pay for drinks, so there's our pay, and awesome. But then when you're in a band like Decepticide, it becomes kind of a business to where like you're spending money to buy merchandise, you're selling merchandise, but again, you need to have the initial cash. So like, yeah, our shows can be free. Like, dude, like you spend so much money on gear, and again, Decepticide's always been a band that never is spare on the gear. We're like, yeah, let's get the top of the line, if not decent. You know, we're not gonna go on with like solid state amps or like crappy drums. Like, we were always like top of the line.
Hey, Dime used to use solid state amps.
Yeah, I know, man, but he also had like a bunch of stuff to like EQ that.
Totally, he was a pro. I was talking to Zach Cross about that today. I was like, you know, I was recording with this 4-channel mixer, and Enzo was like, no, fuck that. We're getting an 8-channel interface. I was like, ooh. But also, like, it took me some time to get used to the interface with the recording. And because I've been doing I've been making it work with something like this for so long, because I was like, you know, who's going to listen to these recordings anyway?
It's like you said, Decepticide became a business that paid for itself. The first, like, 2 years as a band, every single, I would say it was like every other Saturday, everybody would throw $20.
I think, that's funny. I forgot about that, dude.
We used to always throw $20 in.
I forgot about that. We used to have like a fucking, like, hey, everybody, is the 5th of the month. Where's your $20? Right. And we would like save
That's how we bought our first shirts. Was that way.
Yeah, we were just saving like
shirts up.
I forgot about that, dude. Yeah, we used to have that rule like, hey, fucking this day of the month, like for every 2 weeks, $20 each one. Bring 20.
Of course, starting off, we never got paid a lot, but anytime we did got paid, we were all in the agreement that we're not just splitting it and giving it to us. It's going into the band fund.
Decepticide has going into the band. Ever.
That's how it started.
For 16 years, we have never split nothing.
Nothing.
No, I mean, now as of late in the past couple of years, after our big payout, we go to dinner and, you know, we pay for the dinner and that everybody. But that's about it. I'll never ask you for money for merchandise, for recording gear, for
It's just from the gigs.
Yeah, Decepticide is an entity that pays for itself now because we started with throwing the $20 in and started the ball rolling to where
once the band started making money. Once the band started making money, I was like, oh no, dude, we got money to get merchandise. Like, I don't need anything from you guys. Right. I think the only thing, like, if I was to ever ask you guys for money is because we're traveling. I'm like, all right, dude. Like,
the band can't afford to buy everybody tickets.
Even if it could, I wouldn't
break the
zero out like our account. Like, now. So, anyways, I don't want to edit out fucking an hour and a half of podcast.
Is that how long we've been talking?
It's been more than that.
Hour and a half.
There's been
we are at 101 minutes.
Right. I want to answer your question, though, how it feels about being in Decepticide, if I can.
How does it feel to be in Decepticide? You went from a kid who watched us play for the first time, then we left, came back. Now you have your band. We play a couple shows together, and when we start playing a couple shows together, the A Street show, I wish I could find this picture, man.
I have it. The one with you and I?
Yeah.
I have it, yeah.
All right, you got to send me that.
Okay. I have it on my phone also.
And it's great, man, because I love the picture. I just got that guitar. It's been with that guitar. And that was a time where I was like we were just talking earlier. I was really rooting for you to like continue with the band, but I kind of knew it wasn't going to happen.
No, it was too hot. It was too hot.
It was too hot for the press, man.
We knew that too.
I think because of the drinking, I always kind of knew like.
It was the drinking and the attitude for sure, but also, I had to do a lot of like rethinking about things, which is kind of leads to where I am now. But also,
so many years later, you land.
Yeah.
I didn't call you. I text you.
We were talking too off and on, because it kind of leads into how it ended up in the band.
I think you sent me some Scorester recordings and you wanted me to listen to it. And I was like, sick. I mean, it reminded me of Terraform. It was thrashy, it was aggressive, but it was like next level shit. I was like, fucking awesome, man. When are you playing? And you sent me some videos of you guys like practicing.
We broke up.
And then you broke up. And then I knew you were available, and that's when like Wayward Shot like asked me to play guitar for them for a show, and I first I said yes, and then I was like, dude, just kind of like what I'm going through right now. I'm like, I don't have time for that, and I passed it on to you, and then that didn't work out, and then our bass player, our bass player left,
and now there was
and then I was like, Murat's not doing anything.
Nope. It was like perfect timing because like I think I was on like a 2-month break or whatever. But yeah, the interesting thing about that is with well, we were talking about something else right before that. I don't remember. But anyway, so Scorched Earth ended up falling through, like I said, because of economic situation, and like the place we were practicing at, the municipality bought out, which I was very pissed off about because it's just still sitting idle. And then so, I was just kind of hanging around, and I would like show up to your guys' shows and like videotape shit because I love filming now. I got into like film because of my YouTube channel.
You were coming to our shows and filming, that's right.
And over the years, as your prefrontal cortex develops, you start to mature, and you start to think about things in more of like a, if I do this, these are the consequences.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, these guys are amazing. Why didn't I appreciate them more when I was younger? Even though I was telling Ryan earlier when he went to take a piss, like I saw you guys in Corrupture, and Terraform was like here, and we were trying to reach your guys' level. And like it was even more so because like, Corrupture was like had the green logo and you guys had the red logo. So in my mind, you guys were like something that I looked up to always. I know you saw us in a different way as like younger and more allegedly more technically skilled or whatever, but we always like looked up to you guys and like in terms of like that's what we were trying to achieve at the moment. So anyway, as time went on, I sold a restaurant, and then I was kind of in between my undergrad and I started master's degree, and with the restaurant being gone, I had all this free time, and then your bass player just happened to leave, and I was like, I want to play music. It just seemed to work out, and then we hung out, we jammed, and I remember like I was thinking maybe temporary because I didn't want to step on your guys' toes.
Well, I think because you couldn't or you didn't do Wayward Shot, I thought that you were just not available because you had like taken up on a new job or you started school again.
Yeah, I was doing research.
So I thought you were just like not available, so I felt like I was asking you for a favor to like, I know you're busy, but I like I can't think of anybody else better to ask for this, and like since I know you're busy, like would you just do us a favor to fill in? I mean, I would have just asked you to join in, but like I thought you were just not available,
right?
So
yeah,
I was asking you as a favor.
I wasn't for a period of time because I didn't know. It was my first time doing psychological research. I didn't know how much of my time that was going to take up. And that's why I didn't end up joining Wayward Shot. But then as I figured it out, I joined Decepticide, obviously. We jammed once or twice. And I was like, at first I was like, it's temporary. And then I heard it. And I was like, nah, I'm happy. I'll hang out. And fuck, like it makes sense.
You said something, I forget when it was, but you were like, well, if you want, I can just be your bass player. I'm like, I told Ryan, I was like,
yeah. Also,
what do you think, dude?
I wanted to make sure, my wife, I wanted to make sure that she was okay, like with me joining a band and everything, because it's a commitment. So
huge.
And of course, she was like, totally.
And we are so jaded with people coming in that I think that's why I asked you as a favors. That way, I myself didn't give myself like too many like hopes and dreams to like, oh, we're finally good, like this is it. I was like, all right, dude, I was about to quit. I mean, I was ready to leave Alaska and this and everything.
Yeah, dude.
Because I was like, I was tired. I was done with the whole new bass players. Not just bass players, but people coming into this art room and take us for granted.
Yeah, I think I told you that too. I was like, I would be so honored if I were to do, because you guys have put in so much work. And again, like the value of labor, you guys have put in 15 years worth of work.
16 now.
For somebody to sit here and disrespect that, to me, is disrespectful as a musician. And who knows how hard it is to run a band. As I mentioned, how much I valued Terraform, and I still do. But, like, it's not easy.
No.
And I've told Zach that. I've told Terraform that. They know. They agree. And we always respect that. And I'm happy to be a part of that.
Cool,
Very
man.
happy to have you.
We're definitely happy to have you, man. And
he was like,
again, an honor too, because again, like I was telling you earlier, like I really had hopes for you and like a lot of respect and really, really rooted for you on your early days. And never thought it was an option that you were playing guitar. First of all, I didn't know that you were actually that interested on playing bass, period.
I like playing bass.
So when you told me that, I play Into the Depths and this and that, I had no idea. I don't know where that period like went by me because I didn't know you ever play bass.
I did, yeah, for like a year and a half.
That's crazy. I never knew that. I remember when you came up play bass for us on the South Stage.
One time, yeah.
One time, yeah.
You randomly called me like 2 hours before our show.
Can you wing it?
I forgot what happened. Why?
I don't remember.
I don't know what happened with whoever was playing bass for us, but
I just showed up.
What do you know? Fucking burned us, and we're like, yeah, we have a show, and you're like, dude, I can wing it. I'm like, dude, then fucking
Please
come
wing
in.
it.
Yeah,
Please come and
I
wing
knew you
it.
guys. Yeah, I know the key you guys playing, and I've heard the songs. I just kind of chugged the E most of the time, but went with the rhythm, turned my bass down. But yeah, so that was an interesting gig.
We're super fucking happy to have you, dog. Super happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
Right on, dude. Well, fucking A, man. We're
We have to do this again soon. Wait, there seems like we have way more to talk about than we could fit in a single podcast.
Well, I didn't want to talk about our recording progress. I think I want to do a little more and then get here with Brian and talk about what the plans actually are for this band and how things are going. So yeah, we're just kind of winging it, getting back into the podcast soon. And fucking A, man, I really appreciate you being in this band and doing all the work that you're doing. It's been really a blessing, man. I mean, I was about to be done with this.
I'm glad I felt that from happening.
I felt like you definitely saved this band because I felt like I was ready to leave state because I was done with the whole new people coming in. I've been putting this band first over my job and over like a lot of things, and I felt like I've been just burned past especially in the past 4 years with bass players, and like it's not just bass players, it's just the person coming into this room and not appreciating everything we have. And you were someone who's seen us come up on the come up and be at our very top. And fuck, man, I feel like right now we're
the strongest we've ever
had. Just by having you, I feel like the past couple of years we've been just like in autopilot. Yeah, we're playing music because we live here.
Yeah.
And now I feel like we're back to we have a purpose now.
Totally. I told my wife the other day, I was like, over the years, Enzo and I, we had this like, I don't even know what we would have disagreed on, but like we had this like idea that we disagreed with each other for some reason, probably because, we were young or whatever and, men. But I was like, but when we put our heads together, it's like, I kind of defer in the situation of Decepticide because you guys have had a hierarchy in a situation that works, but I definitely know I have value added, so I want to add whatever I can without stepping on any toes, right? But like when we put our heads together, we get like we can make shit get done, which is so cool.
No, I appreciate and it goes without saying, but I might as well say it's like. Never feel like you can't say anything, suggest anything. It's like high school, man. It's like there's no dumb question.
Right. Yeah.
There's no stupid questions, man.
And you've already passed the biggest hurdle. Brian doesn't hate you. So.
He has such a huge respect for you. And when you start playing the bass with us, he texts me. He's like, dude, Murat's a cool guy.
He said, this is it.
Real metalhead. And it's just stoked to be playing with you, man. And the one sample that you sent me, the very first one.
Oh, the recording?
Yeah, when you I felt like that was the first time I ever heard real bass behind a fucking Decepticide track. And even though that was like a BS like track, like a sample that we just did,
right.
I was like, dude, if this is what it's gonna sound like,
that's
like we are gonna be.
That was like the worst possible version it could be like. So,
but I
could
hear it. I could hear the bass, and it's got the fucking clicky fucking tone that I can. It's great, man.
That's what I'm trying to
Love
achieve. Well, great.
Excellent.
All right, dudes.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. Yeah, man. So let's finish this bottle. Dude.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Don't subscribe. Don't fucking like. Fuck the YouTube algorithm. Cheers.
Just come to shows.
Do come to shows.
Come to shows.
Support Murat. He's gonna have a big family.
We have to put Murat through college.
He's gonna have 5 kids.
Yes.
You're gonna have 5 kids at once.
5 kids, 6
Star
dogs,
band.
couple cats, a goat.
Yeah, I'm stoked.
All right.
When the album comes out, we could be on my podcast.
Put that Turkish magic on it.
Also,
yes.
fucking.
Here's now.